Welcome to Marriage Unmasked. Today is our anniversary.
Yay! 20 years.
Happy anniversary to you. So yeah, 20 years. When you listen to this, we'll actually be on a little getaway trip.
Yes.
But we're excited because there were times I didn't think we were going to make it to 20 years.
I mean, I going to make it to 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. I really didn't. And so we're just celebrating. We really are. And we wanted to share today our top 20 things that we have learned in our 20 years of marriage. So it's going to be really good, really valuable, and we're going to get right to it because it's a lot. So here we go.
All right. So number one, staying is one thing. Healing while you stay is another thing. What we were doing for many years is just staying in the survival mode. Yes, we were committed to each other. We were definitely in the marriage, but the marriage wasn't thriving. We weren't growing. We weren't healing. We were trying, but we just weren't succeeding. There's a difference between survival and revival, actually getting new energy into your relationship. It can be easy to fall into these patterns and just stick it out for each other, have that commitment, but not go after the healing and the growth. And when you do, when you go after the healing and the growth, you take your marriage off of life support and you start to actually grow and change. And marriage becomes so much more beautiful, and life itself is more joyful, and you just thrive as a couple. So the healing is such an important part of marriage. Every year of your marriage, going after that healing. If we would have started it earlier, it would have been awesome.
Yeah, and number two is that healing happens in layers, because I thought that there was a lot of healing that I was doing even to the marriage, because I was starting to recognize that I had unhealed wounds from before the marriage that I brought in. And I think that's true, but then there was more wounds that I hadn't even uncovered yet in the marriage. And I think it's actually like a gift from God that it happens in layers, because imagine if we were bombarded with all the unhealed wounds that we were carrying all at once. Like, it would feel overwhelming. We wouldn't even know what to do with that all. But I love that it happens in layers. And I think when you start to heal some of the surface layers too, then you grow and you have the capacity to start to get into some of the deeper things and some of the maybe more painful things. And so it's actually a beautiful gift that healing happens in layers.
Yeah, absolutely. Number three is the masculine and feminine dynamic in your marriage matters way more than you think it does. And we were stuck in that for years, not really understanding the masculine and feminine dynamic. But when a man really shows up authentic in his masculinity, the way God designed him to be, and a woman shows up really authentic in her femininity, the way God designed it to be, there's this beautiful dance that starts to happen in the relationship. Instead of fighting against each other, you start to click more. You start to complement each other so much more in the relationship. And it's a lifelong thing, right? You keep growing in a healthier version of masculinity or a healthier version of femininity. And as you do that, the marriage really can get stronger and stronger, because there's that polarity and there's that attraction between you two, and you're really living in the way that God designed marriage to be.
And we really experienced that. We experienced the lack of the masculinity for Adam and femininity for me, like that imbalance where I was showing up more masculine in more of a leadership role, in carrying so much, and he was showing up more passive, and that actually destroyed attraction for us. And that's another big part of why this is such a big deal. And that's number four, is that attraction can come back. It's not lost forever, because we did lose it. It was not there, at least for me, and I think for you in some ways. And I didn't think it was ever going to come back. I had kind of given up hope that I was never going to feel that way about my husband. But when you do heal the things underneath and you start to understand this dynamic, yes, it creates this magnetic attraction between you. I mean, seriously, it's mind-blowing to me. Like, I just never expected it. So yes, it can come back. And I believe that is true for any couple. And I've worked with many women who struggle with this, and I've seen it change. I've seen it be turned around. So it's not lost forever.
Yeah, which really leads us into number five, because it also has to do with attraction. Mothering your husband kills attraction, as well as a husband showing up as a little boy in the relationship also kills attraction. No man wants to feel like his wife is his mother. and wants to have that dynamic. That really does kill attraction, right? Like, you're operating from this framework of a little boy. Well, that's going to kill attraction from your wife too, because she doesn't want to be your mother. This is a completely different relationship than that. And if you have unhealed wounds, sometimes this is how it shows up.
Yeah.
Is a wife or a husband mothering or fathering, and the other one acting more like a child in the relationship. And it is not that way when two adults show up to the relationship fully present, mature, responsible for themselves, and going after the true version of who they are. Then it's much healthier for the relationship.
Yeah. So number 6 is intimacy starts long before the bedroom. It's really about the intimacy in your relationship just in general, right? In normal everyday life. Do you self-protect? Are you putting those walls up? Are you keeping parts of yourself from your spouse? Or do you feel open? Do you feel safe to be vulnerable with them? That's really where the intimacy starts, is you sharing your hearts, you being that safe place for each other. And when you feel that, then you're feeling safe to open yourself up in this very vulnerable way of sex and that kind of physical intimacy as well. So it really starts long before the bedroom. It's not something we can just demand from our spouse in the bedroom and then show up in a different way outside of it.
Yeah. And number 7 is curiosity is a superpower in the relationship. And this one is a key thing. If you're not coming in curious and instead you're coming in critical or judgmental or closed off, and you assume things about each other, and you're operating from this story that you're telling yourself, how much more powerful it is to come in with curiosity and an openness, and you're almost like an investigator wondering, why is this? And then you're open to seeing things from a different perspective, open to understanding the other side. That is so much more powerful and much more connecting in your relationship. So curiosity is really a huge game changer.
Yeah, and as you're married for longer and longer, you do start to think you know your spouse, right? And so you make a lot of assumptions. It's very easy to fall into that where like, yeah, I know what he's going to do. He always does the same thing. I know what he's going to say. I know how he's going to react. But that's where we miss that curiosity. And number 8 is actually talking about safety again. Like, it is a must-have emotionally and physically. And that emotional safety comes from that curiosity. It really feeds emotional safety, because now if you are listening as your spouse is being open and being vulnerable, and you're able to provide them with compassion, with curiosity, instead of like, I know what you're doing, or like, that's wrong, you shouldn't be thinking that way, no, whatever, right? There's a difference there in the emotional safety, and that curiosity really helps bring that safety. And then as far as physical safety, yes, this is a must-have. And we've had times in our marriage where we were missing both of these things at separate times. And yeah, again, you go into self-protection then, and then we block out that connection, and you end up feeling very alone and get very hurt from that.
Yeah. Number 9, boundaries are loving. It's not loving to let somebody just walk all over you in the relationship. That's not loving for you. You're letting yourself be trampled in that relationship. Or it's not actually loving for the other person either, because they don't know where you stop or where your line is.
Yeah.
You think about the Garden of Eden, even God had a boundary. Don't eat from this tree, and that was a way to show love for him and to value that relationship. The same is true in boundaries in a marriage, is those boundaries are ways to protect the relationship, to protect the connection, to protect the love that you share. And they're not meant as a punishment, or they're not something to avoid. They provide clarity for you to know how to love each other well in a way that really communicates that love clearly to the other person.
Yeah, as we're kind of talking about communication, number 10 is something I had to learn. Being right is expensive. I think so many times I was like in conversations, I was trying to be right. And I think it was from unhealed wounds even before our marriage, where I had felt judged, I had felt accused a lot, and so I was used to having to try to protect myself. And if I'm right, then I'm feeling like I'm protected. And so I had to learn that every time I left the conversation feeling right, actually I was really hurting Adam, and then I was really hurting our connection. Because if somebody's right, somebody else is losing, right? They're hurting. Instead of the goal of the conversation being more connection or to understand each other better, if the goal is somebody's right and somebody's wrong, then we lose. The whole relationship loses.
Yeah, and number 11 really ties in well with that. You cannot shame somebody into changing. And that is a really powerful thing to realize, because so often we try to do that on each side. You use blame, you use accusation and shame to try to get somebody else to see it your way or to do something different. Maybe they do that, like maybe they change for you. It's sourced out of fear. They're just doing it out of the shame, out of the fear, and that change is only surface level then, because as long as they are in that shame, then the change lasts. But as soon as that goes away, or as soon as they stop shaming themselves, then the change falls apart. It doesn't last. It isn't a long-lasting way to create change in a relationship, and it hurts. It doesn't feel good, and it doesn't create connection again.
Yeah, it actually leads to a lot more issues, because then that person is coping. Shame is deeply painful, and so anyone who's in shame is going to be going to a coping mechanism of some sort to try to feel better, and that can lead to a whole big host of issues. And I think shaming too can be very sneaky. I know I was shaming Adam plenty, and I didn't realize that at all. I just thought I was trying to help him. So shame can be really sneaky. Number 12 is that your nervous system affects your marriage more than you think. And this is part of that, because a lot of times I maybe was shaming him, but it was because my nervous system was feeling unsafe. And so I was trying to do anything to feel safe, including trying to control him. And so, for example, like he would be saying that he's going to do something and then not doing it after trust had already been broken in our marriage. And so I'm feeling very unsafe with him. And when this would happen, it would just trigger this reaction in my nervous system. And I would react out of that fear, out of pain. And a lot of times it would really be very unhelpful. So it was really necessary for me to learn how to come back to my body and create safety for myself and regulate my own nervous system so that I can show up whole and grounded and full of peace, instead of in this dysregulated nervous system reaction where I am grasping to be okay. I'm grasping to feel safe. So it's a huge skill. It's so important for us to learn how to regulate our nervous systems and create safety for ourselves.
Yeah, because our nervous systems communicate with each other and they vibe off of each other. And so one gets dysregulated, it can cause the other to be dysregulated, and it just goes ping-pongs back and forth and can cause a lot of pain. Number 13 is pain often hides opportunities for growth. And that's a powerful one. This kind of dovetails with the curiosity thing, because when there is a pain point in your relationship or something that you're really struggling with, you can look at it as this horrible thing, or you can be curious about it and see that there's an opportunity for some growth or some healing that is needed under the surface of that pain. And you can be curious about yourself. I'm feeling pain. You notice this. In this particular situation, I'm feeling triggered and this hurts. Then there's a wound there that needs attention. And so getting curious with that pain, then it becomes an opportunity for you to actually grow that, heal that, get stronger in that area, rather than to just keep on poking that pain point and not getting that healing that you need.
Yeah, and that is why we need to regulate our nervous systems, like I was just talking about, and create that safety for ourselves, because if we don't feel safe to get curious and to process our emotions in a healthy way, then we're not even going to uncover what that opportunity is for growth, because we're just stuck in pain and we're stuck in that dysregulated nervous system, which leads to survival mode. And we're very disconnected from ourselves, very disconnected from our spouse, and very disconnected from any growth or healing then. So yeah, so much of this kind of goes together. So we hope that you're finding this really, really valuable. I feel like we're like motoring through here, like whoosh, the train is coming into the station. Anyway, so number 14 is that forgiveness and trust are not the same thing. And as I mentioned before a little bit, we did deal with broken trust in our marriage, and it went on for a long time, because what was happening was he was trying to rebuild trust, but he wasn't rebuilding the trust because he just kept breaking it over and over again with his inconsistency. And so I would forgive him, which was very hard. I'm not going to make that sound like that was easy to do. I mean, forgiveness is just like a necessity in marriage, right? We have to be forgiving each other, but it gets extra hard when your spouse keeps hurting you in the same ways over and over and over. And you start to think like, how many times can I do this? But that just shows, right, that your heart needs some attention, and there's a lot of pain there for you to process, and that is okay. That is actually one of the most important steps in forgiveness, is to really connect to your heart and process your emotions. So forgiveness and trust aren't the same thing. I would forgive him, but that does not mean that I have to blindly trust him all the time. That doesn't mean that he automatically is a trustworthy person. He still needed to do things to show that he could be trusted.
Yeah, and sometimes this is where a healthy boundary comes in place. You set a healthy boundary so that you're protecting that connection, protecting the relationship, and that can help too for the person who's breaking the trust to know, okay, this is where I'm doing that, and this is something that needs to change.
Yeah, I mean, trust is such a foundational part of a marriage, and so when that is lost, it's difficult to navigate. But I just want you to know that forgiveness and trust aren't the same thing. You can still forgive, and you don't have to feel bad if you don't automatically trust them again. There is much more needed to rebuild trust than just forgiving them.
And number 15 really ties in with that too in some ways, because number 15 is, it's hard to accept someone else's love when you don't actually love yourself. Because even in that situation where I was breaking trust, I wasn't loving myself. I was often shaming myself to try to change, and that was not working.
Yeah.
I wasn't changing. I wasn't growing. I would shame myself and try to perform better, but that wasn't actually working. She was showing me love by forgiving me, but I couldn't accept that forgiveness because I wasn't forgiving myself. I wasn't loving myself. I was still stuck in shame. And anytime you're operating out of shame or not loving yourself and not understanding who you are and how loved you are and living from a loved place, then you can't accept that forgiveness. You can't accept that love from the other person. And you end up staying stuck in this cycle of shame and blame. And you can't grow if you're stuck in that kind of cycle.
Yeah, and this really goes hand in hand with number 16, which is how you treat yourself is how you treat others. And I see this so often in our marriage. I see it in other marriages that we're working with and the couples that we're working with. It happens so often. I think a lot of Christians even put loving ourselves in this like selfish category. And so it's like, oh no, I want to stay away from that. But actually loving yourself is so powerful. God even talks about it in the Bible, right? He says, love others as you love yourself. You need to love yourself to even know love. And then that love outpours onto others. But what I see so often is that we are judging each other, but that judgment isn't just because you're a judgmental person. It is because that's actually how you're treating yourself. You're treating yourself with that judgment and like, oh, you need to do better and you're not doing that well enough and that was wrong and that was bad, and we're accusing ourselves instead of offering ourselves love and compassion and seeing what's going on deeper underneath so that we can be gentle with ourselves and care for ourselves and invite God into healing whatever's hurting us. That's what love looks like. Then we're able to outpour that to others. But when the voice that we know so well is judgment and accusation for ourselves, then that is exactly what comes pouring out of us. I mean, I think it talked about that in the Bible too, like out of the heart, the mouth speaks. And that to me is so connected to the same concept.
And number 17 is your marriage can be way better than you imagined it could be. I mean, if you had told us that years ago, we would have been like, yeah, whatever. You think we're stuck in this survival mode forever. And when you're in the trenches, when you're in that, it can feel like that. It can feel like there is no hope.
Yeah.
But there is hope. Wherever God is, there is hope. Wherever health and healing and some of the tools that we give in our memberships and things like that, wherever that is, there is hope. Because when you are going after healing and when you're reconnecting and doing that work, and understanding yourself deeper and understanding God's love deeper, you can have a marriage that reflects that so much more. And it can grow. You don't have to stay stuck in the same cycles and the same patterns and the same hurts. There is healing and hope available. And as you go after that, you can make a marriage that is so much better than you even ever could have imagined. And that definitely happened for us. We thought we're never going to be attracted to each other. We're never going to have that kind of a relationship. That's a pipe dream, but it isn't. Because when we've gone after that growth, we have seen some amazing change in our marriage. And really, the sky's the limit. It can just get better and better.
Yeah. I think this point, number 17 here, is so key because the difference I see in the couples that we work with where the husband and wife just kind of flatline and they're not really taking in what we're offering and they just continue to stay stuck, or they move forward with separation or divorce. The thing I see there that's different from the couples who move forward into growth and healing and they're experiencing so many beautiful transformations, the difference is that they've lost hope, right? The couples that go flatline, they've lost hope, and we try to, right? We try to encourage them, and we're speaking so much hope into them because we honestly see that for them. But if they can't see that for themselves and they refuse to go there, probably because of what I'm going to talk about next with self-protection, but that keeps you stuck. If you're feeling hopeless, we felt that too at times.
Absolutely.
But I encourage you to prioritize getting your hope back. Really prioritize getting full so that you're coming from a full, whole place, because that's how you're going to get that hope back.
Yeah,
so this one, I just feel like that one is so key, because that's such a big difference between couples that grow and heal and couples that just flatline.
Yeah.
So number 18 is that self-protection, it doesn't actually protect you. And that's what happens a lot of times when we lose hope. It's because we're so protected. We don't want to experience any more pain. So it's like the wall's up and no, I'm not even going to give them the opportunity to hurt me anymore.
Hope feels dangerous in that situation, unfortunately. And so if you think hope is dangerous, that's actually a dangerous place to be, because now you're not looking for the possibility of growth anymore. And you're in, like Cara said, self-protection, and the wall is up. And how are you going to connect in your marriage then? If you've got a wall and a shield up, you're not going to connect anymore.
Yeah. I remember, I'm like an expert in self-protection, and I remember God, just making it so clear to me one day, and he was telling me, like, this is not protecting you. Just so you know. It's like, just so you know, that you're actually not protecting yourself. I am your protector. And he was telling me, like, this is isolating you. Self-protection, you're building up all these walls, but guess what? You're alone behind the wall. And that doesn't feel good. You feel lonely.
And you're in an echo chamber of your own thoughts too. So it's hard to grow if you're all alone and you're just thinking these thought loops. You stay stuck.
Yeah. So I had to ask God so many times, how are you protecting me? How are you my safe place? Just really inviting him in to be what I needed, so I didn't try to do it myself. And so I really had a felt sense of safety with him. And then if I'm safe with him, I'm safe all the time because he's always with me. And so that really helped me to deal with some of the really dark things in our marriage.
Yeah. Number 19, God cares more about your heart than he does about your behavior. Yeah. He does care about your behavior because it's his best for you. When you're walking in line and in tune with him, and you're behaving in a way that lines up with how he's set things up and how he knows that we're going to thrive, then obviously we're going to thrive in that situation. We're going to enjoy life more. We're going to experience more of his goodness and his blessing as we walk in the ways that he's set up. But he cares a lot about your heart. Yeah. And that's something that many years I got wrong, is because I was so focused on my outward behavior and what I was doing and trying to change that. And so many people who are working on their marriage do that. We try to change the behavior. If I just get him to do this, if I do this differently, if I communicate better, if I follow this or that thing on Instagram, then I'm going to have a better relationship. And it's all surface level. It's trying to change the fruit on the tree before you've actually healed the root of the tree. You haven't gotten to the actual source, which is the heart. And so God cares about your heart. That's the source of all of that activity, all of those things that you're doing and changing. If it comes from a healed, whole, healthy place from your heart, then that's the kind of change and that's the kind of behavior that's going to last, it's going to stay around, and you're going to have a healthier marriage because you've dealt with the heart first.
Yeah, and God cares about your heart because he loves you. And think about him parenting you. He cares about everything, just like you care about your kids. If you have children, you care about whatever's going on in their heart, right? If you can tell there's even a thing going off, you're like, what's wrong? Are you okay? Right? Whether they're scared, whether they're angry, whether they're excited and happy, you care about it. And that's the same thing. God he's not just looking at you as a little robot that needs to behave and obey and do the right thing. He loves you and he cares for you. And that actually kind of leads us into number 20, which, can I get a drum roll? Number 20 is that unhealed childhood wounds impact your marriage. And this is why God parenting is so helpful, because a lot of those wounds from when you were a child, your parents did the best they could, but they're not perfect and they can't perfectly meet all your needs. That's what God is actually for. And He created you with needs for Him to fill. And so this is something He wants to walk with you through. What is hurting you so deeply? Maybe it's your identity that got shaped back then because somebody said that you were stupid and your parents said that you were never good enough or whatever, right? Maybe they just weren't there, or they showed that your emotions, you being angry or you being frustrated, meant that you needed to go away. And so you felt that love was actually taken away when you had emotions. So now you've learned, I need to just keep it together. I just need to zip it up and soldier on, right? So there's all kinds of ways that these unhealed childhood wounds impact us, and then they impact our marriage. And Adam and I, man, we didn't realize how much this was going to impact our marriage. And I know you were like very much in denial about any unhealed childhood wounds.
For so many years, I just thought I had a wonderful childhood and there was no issues there. And yet, for everybody, anybody who has gone through a childhood, you have things from childhood that have shaped you and that influence your insecurities, that influence the way you approach marriage, the way you show up inside your marriage. There's always something there that can be healed, that can grow. I didn't see that for many, many years, and it really kept us stuck in our marriage, because if I became aware about them and started working on those things and finding that healing with God earlier, it would have saved us many years of pain in our marriage.
Yeah, so that is such a big one. And the beautiful thing is, what I've seen as I walked women through this and restored is I have seen them come into their identity then. Finally start to come into that beautiful, thriving, fully alive woman who knows who she is and what a treasure she is. And same thing for men. But there's such a beautiful shift that happens where you really embody who you really are, right? There is no hiding. There's no need for shame. There's none of that. It's like a flower blooming fully. That's what it's like. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful for you as a person, but it's also then beautiful for your marriage because it impacts it so much. All right. There's your top 20 lessons we learned in 20 years. And the thing I really want you to take away from this is, like, we didn't just stay married for 20 years. We're not celebrating 20 years because we're like, okay, we made it. Yep, like, look at us, 20 years. It's like, what we're celebrating is the different people that we became. It is how we have come back to who we are as individual people. And now we're able to show up for each other in this absolutely powerful, beautiful way. So it's not about a number, like, because so many people are 20 years married and they're miserable. They're sad and they're stuck. They are maybe completely numb and checked out. And so we're celebrating not the number of years married, but the beautiful growth and healing that God has been doing. Even though a lot of those years were very painful, there is still so much healing available. And that's true for you too. And we want to hear what God has been up to in your marriage. And if you're struggling and if you're feeling stuck, please reach out, because we want to be here to support you.
And this is why we're so passionate about our memberships, Restored and Refined, is because this is all these things that we learned, all these 20 things that we listed, plus so much more, is what we've packed inside of our memberships to allow other people to come into that same kind of healing that we've experienced in our marriage, and to get you the tools and the awareness that you need. And we have inner healing courses. Cara has one, I have one. Inside of the memberships, we do one-on-one coaching, we do group coaching, we have community inside these groups, we have other resources. They're really just powerful, impactful ways for you to grow and go after some of these 20 plus changes in your marriage today. And we do offer couples coaching as well. I know a lot of times that can be a really great starting place. Individually, that's also very powerful, right? You can change the dynamic of your marriage just from you jumping into Restored or into Refined. But we do
also offer couples coaching, which can just be really powerful to work together with us as a couple and you as a couple. And that can just help us to start to tackle some of these underlying issues that maybe you haven't seen before and bring in an outside perspective.
Have a safe place to have these kind of discussions and to understand these things about each other, where a lot of times if you're stuck by yourselves without any kind of third party there, and then you just trigger each other and you go into all these things. But when you have that safe place to talk through these things and somebody to do it with you, it's incredibly powerful.
And if you want to help us celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary, it's a way to actually bless you, but also bless us. So we're just celebrating in general, everybody. But we would love for you to rate and review the podcast. We would love for this to get out to as many hurting couples as possible, so they can get the support, they can feel heard, feel seen. So if you would rate and review the podcast, that would be awesome. And then as our thank you to you, screenshot your review and send it to either one of us. You can send us an email or reach out to us on social media, and we're going to give you 1 day of private coaching just as a thank you for taking the time to do that. We want to bless you as you bless us. We can't wait to see your reviews, and please, even if you don't rate and review, or if you do, send us an email. Tell us what was your favorite or what was the point that hit the hardest for you, and you can always feel free to ask us any questions if you need help. We're here to support you and love you, and we can't wait to keep sharing more in our podcast as our marriage continues to grow and change, and we're still healing. We're just honored to be able to share our journey with you, and we hope this was a blessing. We will see you next week.